Privacy versus public safety. This week in OKC, public safety won out, but not without flock cameras critics making themselves heard. Plus, we are on the eve of Oklahoma's primary runoff. Today, a preview with another look at the GOP matchups for governor and state superintendent.
Stories beyond the headlines, connected to our state. Oklahoma Chronicle with Evan Onstad.
Hey, good to see you. The OKC City Council voted to extend its contract with Flock this week. The surveillance camera company, of course, has been driving debates nationwide. It's a topic we have covered extensively on KOCO and here on Oklahoma Chronicle. In fact, we had a Flock critic and a Flock supporter on this show about a month ago.
Being seen in public is one thing, being tracked in public is completely different. And I think that's where the line needs to be drawn.
Being able to bring people to justice and hold them accountable so they cannot continue to victimize our community, it warrants the use of them. We work on the safeguards and continue to work together as a community.
This week, the 5-3 council vote came in front of a large crowd of vocal Flock opponents and after a report from the Oklahoma City Police Chief. Chief Ron Basie praised the Flock system. He also admitted it had been abused locally in the past, saying changes will prevent misuse in the future. KOCO's Chantel Navarro was at that meeting.
We've had ALPR technology since 2014. We've had Flock since 2022. We have over 1,500 employees. We've had incidents with 2 employees.
By incidents, Police Chief Ron Basie is talking about misuse in the Oklahoma City Police Department when it comes to license plate readers. I requested those details from the police department, and we're still waiting to hear back tonight. But it was first brought up in council by Ward 6's Jo Beth Hammond.
There has been documented evidence of at least one individual within the Oklahoma City Police Department who used this for private purposes for potentially over a period of 5 months. That was only flagged because of a complaint by a resident. There's just, to me, there are too many, the potential benefits do not outweigh the cost.
A group fighting those cameras called DFlock OKC knew about that one instance as well. A sergeant that used the Flock database multiple times between December 2024 and April 2025.
Caught by the estranged wife filing a complaint against him.
This document shows the sergeant admitted to his wrongdoing, suspended without pay for 3 days, and put on 1-year probation.
We've added more guardrails. We've added strict controls, oversight, and audits. We've added more search entry requirements, required manual review of data prior to enforcement. There's an internal review and an AI audit feature. Abnormal behavior will automatically suspend a user from further searches.
And when the motion did pass,
All right, next up.
many gathered outside council chambers, signing a petition against the cameras. The fight isn't over just yet.
I'm going to keep researching, I'm going to keep asking questions, and hopefully I can get more and more ammunition that will actually get this thing put down for good.
Chantel Navarro reporting there in that story, joining us here on Oklahoma Chronicle. You actually did a number of stories on this. That story talked, I know a lot about the concerns, some histories of the misuse that we've seen, not just around the nation with Flock cameras, but as you pointed out, that there's been at least multiple, in fact, incidents over the past.
At least 2 here in Oklahoma City.
And that's something that the chief talked about and admitted. But I do also want to point out that your reporting also did include the fact that the police chief, many law enforcement agencies, they say that these cameras have been extremely beneficial to their investigations.
Oh yeah, they've been saying they have a significant impact in the community. Chief Basie gave a presentation for about an hour and a half, and he kind of broke down some of the stats. I have them here. Over 400 aggravated assaults, 1,200 stolen vehicles were recovered because of these Flock cameras, as well as 60 murders, 34 kidnappings, 38 rapes. So definitely helping catch criminals.
All right, 60 murders, they say, were helped to be solved, and they made an arrest because of Flock cameras. How many rape investigations?
Yeah, they're saying 38 forcible rapes and 34 kidnappings. They say 210 missing people were thanks to, in part, these Flock cameras.
All right, and that, as we've talked about this before, I mean, this is one of those debates where truly there are two strong sides to this argument right here, because the police are saying we have shown this is it helped solve all these things, and at the other side we have the privacy concerns. Speaking of privacy, I know that Chief Basie, when talking about it, he said that there are 109 different agencies that they will share the OKC flock data with, but he did not want to list. He didn't want to make that public. Why?
He did not know. So he told Councilwoman Jo Beth Hammond, he said that he will not be giving that information out because he basically said that giving that out is like giving a blueprint of their agency, of their work. And he said it's a safety risk.
So basically, because he talks about these giant crime rings, transnational
trafficking,
drug trafficking, human trafficking. And so he doesn't want to tip their hand as to who they might be sharing the data with.
That's what he's saying, yeah.
As you mentioned in the story, the police chief is talking about the changes that Oklahoma City is making when it comes to these flock cameras. And there are a few changes that OKC is making.
Yeah, one of the biggest ones is not sharing with federal agencies anymore. But that's also something, keep in mind, Flock has made a lot of these changes after they've been criticized nationally for what's going on.
In fact, they just announced changes here recently. In fact, we made a little graphic. Can you put this up on the screen here really quick? Because, and this just came out this month, that these are policy changes that, yes, are happening here in Oklahoma City. Chantel, I know the police chief talked about many of these, but these are changes that Flock, the company themselves, under intense pressure, not just here, but around the country, did announce. So data retention, that is now going down. Right now, they could hold it for a month. This video data, that's going to drop down to 7 days. Every search, I found this interesting, now has to have a case number, because when we talked about in the past where there might have been an officer who was using these flock cameras to track an X or something like that, they would just put in the license plate numbers with no case number.
Exactly, and that was just like this Oklahoma City case, at least one of them with the sergeant involved. That's what that report said, that multiple times over the course of 5 months, he was using that, tracking down his wife. But again, back to that, back to the audit that came from all of this. And Oklahoma City Police were saying that they're bringing it down from 30 days to 7 days. But again, that's Flock that's doing so. They're bringing these guardrails
And
back.
you mentioned the audit. Can we put that back up on the screen here really quick? Because they did say that now every single search is going to have an AI audit. And so if they can spot abnormal behavior, the police chief said that there will be immediate discipline in that sort of situation. And also, Flock said that agencies will get more control over what types of searches are allowed, which is interesting. And I don't know, Chantel, correct me. Did the chief say anything about that in his presentation?
He did not, and I don't believe so, no.
Right. What about ICE access to flock data? Because that's something that has not just been talked about here in OKC. Obviously, this is again a national debate. A lot of people were concerned that ICE agents, it was reported that they were using flock data to not track down murderers and kidnappers and stuff, but people that were in this country without documentation.
Yeah, and that is a huge concern in the immigration community and the migrant community. That's another interesting point because, Chief Basie said that there's 109 agencies right now that Oklahoma City is sharing with.
Not federal agencies, though. We know that.
Local agencies, but one local agency, Oklahoma Highway Patrol, has that 287G contract, which is with immigration enforcement. So that's the big question mark is, are they able to share that with immigration? Because technically speaking, they won't share directly with ICE right now. That's what Flock is saying, but that could be.
But there's nothing to stop. Flock cannot get direct video access. ICE cannot get direct video access from Flock, but ICE can get access to these videos from any of their customers. For example, Oklahoma City or Highway Patrol or whoever might have it.
Exactly, because it could be just a backdoor way to reach some of this.
Okay. Well, obviously, a lot going on. Chantel, we appreciate reporting, and thanks so much for coming on.
All right, thanks so much.
I did reach out to Flock and invite a member of their senior staff to talk to me for this week's show. They declined, but they did send me reaction to this week's City Council vote from Flock's CEO and founder, Garrett Langley.
Oklahoma City is an important customer. They've been one for years, and you look at their success day in and day out from their hardworking officers, and it's great to see city council listen to their police department and their community about what needs to be done to continue to be a great and safe city. It's important to continue the discussion on how we find balance in privacy and safety. But what's important to look at is what we're going from to where we're going towards. And we're going towards a more objective, a safer, a faster, more effective police department by deploying technology like these license plate reading cameras.
And of course, we will continue to follow that. Coming up after the break, Election Day is Tuesday, the primary runoff. And here in Oklahoma, you know the primary runoff is a big deal. A look at some of the biggest races on the ballot next on Oklahoma Chronicle. Election Day is Tuesday, and for those of you who follow Oklahoma politics closely, that's probably you, then you know the Republican primary runoff often, not always, but often, ends up being the most competitive statewide race in the election cycle. And the odds makers will tell you that who wins Tuesday between Mike Mazzei and Gintner Drummond, that person will be heavily favored to become the next governor. Now remember though, this race started with 9 Republicans in the field, only 2 remain. But what are the others saying? Here's KOCO's Dakota Wapakichi.
This summer, the field of Republicans who want to be the next governor chopped down to 2, Mike Mazzei and Gintner Drummond. In June, Chip Keating, Jake Merrick, Charles McCall, and 4 other Republicans all learned their campaigns were done. Now some of them are spreading endorsements in the runoff between Drummond and Mazzei.
I find myself aligning more closely with Mike Mazzei. So I'll be supporting him for governor, not because someone told me to, not because the president endorsed him, and not because I dislike Gintner Drummond. Mike is just closer to where I believe Oklahoma needs to go.
Jake Merrick in June's primary finished 4th with 58,000 votes. Mazzei and Drummond's teams are fighting for his voters. Recently, he and Chip Keating appeared on a new Oklahoma politics podcast called Clowns Left, Jokers Right, and Keating says he won't be making an endorsement.
Concerns with Mike is I don't know what Mike stands for, and I'm worried about the flip-flopping. I want to elect a man or a woman of principle. With Gintner, I have concerns that he is going to be continue to be a tax and spend liberal.
Keating finished 3rd in June with 74,000 votes. Charles McCall came up 5th, and for the first time since primary night, he's posted on social media.
You'll keep hearing from us because this was never just about an election. It was about our best days still being ahead. If you stood with me or with any other candidate who came up short, don't set this one out. Go vote August 25th.
There were 9 Republican candidates in that race. Many of the other candidates didn't gather more than 5,000 votes. But that isn't stopping some of them. Lisa Mitchell-Haynes is supporting Drummond and says she doesn't like Mazzei.
If he's spent over $10 million to win this or to buy this governor's seat, I wonder why. How fast can you say bought off?
Now, whoever wins the runoff goes up against Democrat Cindy Munson in November's general election. Reporting, I'm Dakota Wapakichi, KOCO 5 News.
And another statewide GOP runoff we're watching closely this week is the race for state superintendent. Lyndall Fields, who you remember replaced Ryan Walters, vowed when he was appointed by the governor to not run for election this November. So our Kylie Thomas sat down with the 2 Republicans still in the running to take Lyndall Fields' place.
The crowded Republican field for state superintendent is now down to just 2. 2 classroom educators are now battling to earn the Republican ticket and face Democratic nominee Dr. Janetta Marshall in November. In the primary election, Dr. Robert Franklin led the stacked Republican field with 22.6% of the vote. Dr. James Taylor followed with 19.7%.
Well, it's an odd feeling because I've never been in politics, and so you're wondering, is this in real time or are we in a fantasy land here? And
this was the hand of God. God orchestrated all of this.
Ahead of the August 25th runoff, KOCO sat down one-on-one with both candidates. So, if elected, where would they start?
No parent should be treated as an obstacle or pain or, a special interest group just because they asked the simple question, what are you teaching my child?
For Dr. James Taylor, a history and government teacher at Little Axe High School and pastor, it starts with parental empowerment. As a teacher, Taylor says he personally calls every parent on the first day of school. He believes that same level of communication should start at the top by giving parents a stronger voice at the State Department of Education.
I'm toying with the idea of having a parental advisory board to be a part of my team because parents are the first and most important teachers that any child will ever have. And there is no way that any organization or administration is going to know that child better than their mom and dad.
For Dr. Robert Franklin, improving public education starts with how the state leads its schools. After more than 4 decades in education, the Hall of Fame educator says Oklahoma needs a tested leader who can bring people together and spend less time on politics and more time improving student outcomes.
What is a must-do on your agenda when you become superintendent?
We must do this. We must bring in right people. We must collaborate differently than we have in the last couple of 3 years. We must try to keep politics and agendas that are really divisive away from the schoolhouse and from the children and the folks that are doing the heavy lifting.
Both candidates agree things won't improve without a focused effort to support Oklahoma teachers. For Franklin, that starts by keeping experienced teachers in Oklahoma with competitive pay and ongoing professional development, while building a stronger teacher pipeline by recruiting high school students through tuition waivers and internships.
Teachers are not the problem. Teachers are the solution. We just don't have enough long-linked, well-trained warriors at our fingertips. Thank goodness we have the ones that are here. We can do this work. We know how to do work. It takes a good, strong coach, one that's not a pushover. I'm not beholden to anyone. This is not a hobby for me to run for an office. This is not a hobby. This is a passion.
Taylor says supporting teachers begins before they ever have a classroom of their own. He wants first-year teachers paired with experienced mentors and more hands-on training in classroom management and student discipline.
The discipline is paramount. We have got to make sure that our teachers, when the teachers are dealing with discipline issues in their classroom, they have to have the support of the administration. That's one of my strengths is classroom management. That's one of the things that we have to get that taken care of, because that's one of the reasons why teachers leave. You know, money is one, but that's not really one of the major reasons why teachers are leaving.
Our one-on-one conversations with the Republican candidates will continue ahead of the August 25th runoff as we compare their plans to lead Oklahoma public education. In Oklahoma City, Kylie Thomas, KOCO 5 News.
Kylie Thomas reporting and joining us here on Oklahoma Chronicle. Kylie, I wanted to have you on here, and thanks for being here, because that wasn't the only story that you put together. You had long conversations with both of these gentlemen. You talked to them about other things, like some of the new laws that we saw with education. For example, the new recess law. How are they feeling about that?
Yeah, I wanted to ask them about the biggest education challenges facing our school districts this school year, and one of them is that new recess law, adding an extra 20 minutes. And I wanted to ask them what best advice they want to give to school districts on how to best incorporate that. Now, for James Taylor, he said there is no one way to do that, and it's kind of up to school districts. As for Robert Franklin, he said more play is great for kids, but said that the implementation needs a little work and suggested going back to the legislators to get more input from teachers on what's best for them.
Now, what about the new literacy laws? Because obviously that has been a huge push. Do they both like what they've seen going forward? Especially when it comes to that third grade stopgap where they say we might need to start holding kids back after third grade if they can't read where they need to be at that level.
Right, that's definitely the more controversial topic when it comes to the Strong Readers Act, which is mirrored after this Mississippi Miracle. Both candidates were a proponent of this new legislative act, but said that they are in support of restricting students from moving on to the next grade at third grade when it comes to literacy or making sure that they hit those certain benchmarks. James Taylor said especially for subjects like math, they build upon each other. So if a student doesn't get it now, he doesn't think that they'll get it in the next grade. As for Robert Franklin, he said that intervention needs to start before third grade. He suggested that intervention needs to start in first grade and really actually ramping up in middle school to ensure kind of long-term success.
So does that indicate, did Robert Franklin indicate that perhaps if he wins this election that he will want to change these laws, that he'll want to go to lawmakers and say we need to start this earlier? Did he give that indication?
He definitely, when it came to the recess law, said that he did explicitly want to go back to legislators and ask about, you know, better implementing that and asking school districts what's best for them, but didn't mention too much about the Mississippi Miracle, the Strong Readers Act, and how he wants to incorporate that.
You know, Ryan Walters, the former state superintendent, he still casts a large shadow shadow over how people look at the state Department of Education. And whether you love them or you hate them, what did these two men say about Ryan Walters and how they saw him and his leadership, his time in charge?
Yeah, I asked them about his time and how they would, if they were to receive the job, if they were to get the gig,
right,
if they would mirror him or if they would depart from his leadership style. Robert Franklin said that he is more in support and likes the leadership style that our current interim state superintendent Lindale Fields has. As for James Taylor, he said that he is nothing like Robert Franklin, and that he said that
nothing
the former,
like Ryan Walters.
Yes,
right.
He said that the former state superintendent was good at finding problems but not finding solutions, and he says that he is a solution-based leader.
Kylie Thomas, thanks so much for all your reporting, and thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
And yeah, she's very curious, as you can see.
Sweet little local baby girl, Angelica Moreno-Roman, celebrated her first birthday, and what a gift she got. She was the first patient in Oklahoma to get a partial heart transplant. She was born with a rare heart defect called truncus arteriosus, which means she has just one artery instead of two separate ones. At just 2 days old, Angelica had her first heart surgery.
We've put 2 valves in a baby that typically would require multiple heart surgeries through life as that child grew. And I'm hoping that she won't have to have these anymore.
The doctor says her heart valves were replaced with living valves from a donor. Plus, her mom says this surgery gave her hope for the future. A first of its kind here in Oklahoma and a worthy addition for our Oklahoma this week. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great seeing you. And you know what? We'd love to hear your feedback. You can send your comments or suggestions for topics you'd like to see us cover at Oklahoma Chronicle at KOCO.com. You can also find our previous shows on our website as well as our free app. Just click on the news tab and you'll find Oklahoma Chronicle. I'm Evan Onstadt. Join us next week. We'll be reacting to what happens on Tuesday. Take care.